So hair removal is a very common challenge. Many people are dealing with it, both men and women. And the question is, what's the best hair removal method for you? It really depends on your skin type, on the area of hair growth involved, what are your goals long-term and short-term. And what I'm going to do is break down the many different hair removal techniques that are out there. Going to go over the advantages and the downsides of each technique, and you'll sort it out for yourself. You'll figure out what's the best way of hair removal for you. So let's get started. One of the oldest and most effective ways of removing hair is flat out plucking it. People use tweezers. Sometimes they can use their own fingers, but largely it is tweezers that people use, and they tweeze out one hair at a time. That technique is pretty painful, but extremely effective at removing hair. And my recommendation for this technique would be, first of all, very limited areas, as it can really traumatize the skin. And if you're doing it very frequently, this is probably not the right technique for you. So this is for slow growing hair. If the hair is growing very quickly, you might want to look into techniques that cause or induce a more permanent change at the hair follicle level. This is not one of them. This is just a technique that plucks out the hair shaft out of the hair follicle sheath, and that leaves the hair follicle to keep on growing new hairs, which in many cases can be pretty quick. So the results are not long lasting, and this is an ongoing technique that people resort to over very small areas on a limited basis. Next technique is obviously shaving. Shaving is very effective. It's usually combined with applying a shaving gel or a shaving cream over the area of application, and then shaving along with a razor, getting rid of hairs. Now, shaving again does not address the hair follicle level, but it does actually cover very large areas. The irritation level is usually pretty mild, though it can actually be very irritating, especially if you're not using any lubricant such as a shaving gel or a shaving cream. And your razor is not very sharp, so watch out for that. But you can cover pretty large areas with shaving, especially for people who shave legs, who shave their armpits, who shave other parts of the body. That can be very effective in doing that. But keep in mind, the results are short-lasting, and you'll need to upkeep the treatment and keep on shaving as long as you want the results to be maintained. Just remember, after shaving, as well as after plucking, or any hair removal method for that matter, keep in mind that moisturization of the areas of treatment is very important. That can help protect the skin and restore or help the skin restore some of the barrier that is lost using the techniques, which can be very irritating. The next technique is shaving's cousin or brother, which is trimming. That involves very small areas and is usually applied to eyebrows, nostril hair, ear hair, things like that. And that can take care, again, of very small areas of hair that need to be trimmed. Obviously, if somebody has a beard, as in men, they can actually trim the beard as well. But we're not aiming usually to cut the hair at the skin level, but actually shorten the hair just to make it more presentable. That's a very good technique for eyebrows. It's a good technique for ear hair and for nostril hair, and obviously for beard hair. Other parts of the body would benefit from other shaving techniques. The nice thing about trimming is that you're not really inducing any trauma to the skin. It's a very gentle technique. You're trimming way above the skin level, so there's no irritation caused for the most part, and you don't need to worry about moisturization or making up for any skin damage induced by the technique. So the next technique is epilation, or using an epilator. An epilator is a device that grabs onto hairs very close to the skin and plucks them out. It's a very uncomfortable technique to use. People use it over wide areas, in some cases, the arms, the legs, other parts of the body. From what I've seen so far and heard about reviews of people using these devices, they are pretty painful. If that device works for you, great. For people with very rapid hair turnover, where the hair just grows very rapidly, this may be a price that's too steep to pay, with the pain involved or the discomfort involved while removing the hairs using this technique and having the hair regrow right under your nose, no pun intended. That could be a very painful technique to use. So choose wisely. If that's a technique that works for you, does not cause a lot of discomfort, by all means use it. But that could be a very, very painful technique to use. Again, requiring moisturization on the back end to make sure that you're making up for the trauma that the passage of the device causes to the skin over the hairs. The next technique is waxing. Waxing has been around with us for a very long time. Waxing involves applying molten, warmed up wax to the treatment areas, applying a strip to the wax on top of that, and then as soon as the wax hardens, pulling the strip like pulling off a band-aid and pulling out the hairs with it. This technique works for both the face, works for larger areas on the arms, on the legs. People also use waxing for their privates, and that technique works really well. The price that you pay with waxing is that it can actually pull off a lot of the skin, strip off a lot of the skin surrounding the hair follicle. So it's not a very pinpointed technique to use. It addresses the entire area, and the hairs obviously come out with it, as they're a very easy to remove element of the skin that can come off pretty easy once the wax hardens under the strips. So something to consider. That being said, remember, waxing needs to be applied very delicately. So do not heat up your wax too hot or you'll actually scald the skin. Do not forget to moisturize right after waxing. Waxing can actually strip off elements of the skin that are involved in maintaining the skin integrity and can actually disrupt the skin barrier. That can cause sensitivity over the waxing area. So moisturization is very important to make up for what you've done with the waxing right off the bat. Put on a layer of moisturizer over the area and make up for what was done in the waxing process. If you've enjoyed this video so far, share, like, and subscribe. Put a comment in the comment section and tell me what you think. What is the best hair removal technique that you've been up to, and what are your thoughts about it? The next technique is the Nair, which is a brand using a chemical called calcium thioglycolate. Calcium thioglycolate is a salt that dissolves or breaks down keratin, which is the protein that makes up hair. So this technique actually dissolves the hair, or breaks it down over a period of minutes from the application of the product, usually in a cream or a foam form. And that then is stripped away and rinsed off to stop the keratin breakdown from causing additional skin damage. That technique needs to be practiced very, very carefully, as that can lead easily to skin irritation and in very severe cases to skin burns. So pay attention to the instructions on the back of the package. Know your own limitations. Do not overuse this technique, because you can actually end up with serious damage to the skin that's being treated, which is way more than you bargained for. So be careful with Nair. And remember, Nair does actually cause damage to the skin by design. So you also would be best off moisturizing after using Nair to treat any area that you're treating. Nair is used, I've seen people use it on the face. I've seen people use it on any part of the body below the face, including the arms, even the armpits, the groin and genital area. I've seen videos of people using Nair on their butts, and I've seen people using Nair on their legs. Whatever works for you is great. Just remember, keep it safe. Don't try to overextend yourself with Nair so you don't end up with a severe burn that will potentially cause long-term irritation and potentially discolor your skin. The next technique, which is a very well-kept secret, is threading. Threading is a technique that comes largely from the Middle East, from Persia or Iran. People using this technique use a thread that they use to pluck hairs very delicately and gently. This technique is a little bit uncomfortable. It's almost like plucking, but you're plucking a lot of hairs by threading around them very gently, sort of like a cross between plucking and an epilation, but very, very delicately and meticulously done. Technique can cause some discomfort over the treatment areas and is usually used over the face. So people use it to even out their eyebrows. People use it for their mustache. Women use it for their mustache. And people use it for the beard area. This technique does actually require pretty consistent upkeep, especially in people with very rapid hair regrowth. So consider this: if you have very delicate hairs over a limited area of the face, that would be an ideal technique for you, provided that the hair doesn't grow back very quickly. And if it doesn't, you can probably lean on this technique for a few weeks at a time and do the upkeep every few weeks just to keep up with the area and maintain the appearance that you're interested in. The next technique is laser hair removal. Laser hair removal is a pretty broad category of devices that are either used by technicians or used by healthcare providers, specifically physicians, and sometimes people working with physicians such as nurse practitioners and physician assistants to target hairs based on hair color. So these lasers actually, and sometimes, by the way, beyond laser, sometimes IPL, which is not a laser, can be used to target hairs as well. These devices target the color or the pigment in the hair and drive that light through the hair shaft all the way down to the hair follicle, inducing a burn all the way down to the hair follicle. And that can actually induce pretty long-lasting hair removal effect. The thing to watch out for with laser hair removal, first of all, make sure that it's being practiced in the hands of an expert, somebody who's had some experience with this device and this technique, who knows what they're doing, because overuse and overextension of this technique can actually cause, much like other techniques that involves burning the skin, those techniques can actually lead to burns, and they can lead in very severe cases in misjudgment as far as the right type of laser to use to discoloration over the area. Specifically, people with darker skin types need to be very mindful of the laser that's being used on their skin for hair removal, and they need to consult with the doctor or the other person, the technician, performing the procedure to make sure that that's the right laser for them, that'll get them the right results, and will actually not cause any damage in the long run. Last but not least, electrolysis. Electrolysis is a technique that basically involves plucking out the hair, inducing an injury to the hair follicle at the follicle level to traumatize it and cauterize it to the point where it's basically killed, where the matrix, where the germinal cells are actually killed, and that would either curb or completely eliminate hair regrowth over that follicle. It's painstaking, it takes some time, it takes patience, it takes a lot of experience and expertise to actually do the technique properly. So go to a person who actually knows what they're doing as well. The side effects of this technique could be burns over the skin and trauma. So those are both possibilities that one undergoing electrolysis can actually suffer. Those techniques are more permanent than even lasers in a lot of the times, especially in the hands of an expert. If you're looking for a long-term hair removal where the hair is gone for a very long period of time or forever from the area of interest and very little risk of discoloration, then electrolysis is the right technique for you, obviously in the right hands. Again, much like with any other abrasive or irritating technique, remember to moisturize after the hair removal session. So just be mindful, again, for all the traumatizing techniques, be mindful about, first of all, not overextending yourself, then be mindful of moisturizing right after. And there you have it, your selection of hair removal practices and techniques to choose from. Choose wisely not to cause too much pain, to have an effective technique on your hands, and obviously not cause any side effects on the way out. If you've enjoyed this video, share, like, and subscribe. Put a comment in the comments section. And again, tell me what's your favorite hair removal technique and what's your least favorite hair removal technique and why. More great content coming your way right from this channel. Thanks for watching and God bless.